Aloha, namaste, welcome again. My name is Janapati Das, and we are back with some more Krishna book reading. Please accept my respects, and we will engage in our hearing and chanting of Krishna's names right now, which, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said in his prayer, his first prayer, is the life of all transcendental knowledge. The hearing and chanting of Krishna's names is the life of all transcendental knowledge. So let's do it. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Wrong song, sorry. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Vastaya Bhutale. Srimati Saraswati Pamam Sariti Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Saraswati Pamam Sariti Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Haribo. Thank you for joining me tonight. And as usual, if you are joining for the first time, please go back to in my YouTube video channel. Go back to the first Krishna book reading and watch through so you can get the whole continuity in the videos. And as always, comment, like, and subscribe, and share. So we had just gotten done reading the wonderful and awesome story about Krishna stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls. And it was such a fabulous chapter showing that the gopis, being the topmost devotees of Lord Krishna, all prayed to the demigoddess Durga, Katyani, for Krishna to be their husband, and Krishna fulfilled their desires. So we are going to continue with, as soon as I get my candle to turn on again, there we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Our new chapter, of course, is entitled Delivering the Wives of the Brahmanas Who Performed Sacrifices. The morning passed, and the cowherd boys were very hungry because they had not eaten breakfast. They immediately approached Krishna and Balaram and said, "Dear Krishna and Balaram, you are both all-powerful. You can kill many, many demons, but today we are much afflicted with hunger, and this is disturbing us. Please arrange for something that will mitigate our hunger." Requested in this way by their friends, Lord Krishna and Balaram immediately showed compassion on certain wives of Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices. These wives were great devotees of the Lord, and Krishna took this opportunity to bless them. He said, "My dear friends, please go to the house of the Brahmanas nearby. They are now engaged in performing Vedic sacrifices known as Angirasha, for they desire elevation to heavenly planets. All of you, please go to them." So actually in the Bhagavad Gita, it's stated that all sacrifices are done to satisfy Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. But there are certain sacrifices that people engage pious activities to be elevated to heavenly planets. These are not very most high sacrifices, such as devotional service to Krishna or Sankirtan Yajna, as the sacrifice that was been inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya as the prime sacrifice of this day and age of Kali Yuga. But here we have it. Then Lord Krishna warned his friends, these Brahmanas are not Vaishnavas. So that's a very common thing to realize, that not all Brahmanas are Vaishnavas, and not all Vaishnavas are Brahmanas. So just because the Brahmanas are considered to be the priestly class in the Varnashram system doesn't necessarily mean that they are Vaishnavas. They cannot even chant our names, Krishna and Balaram. They are very busy in chanting the Vedic hymns, although the purpose of Vedic knowledge is to find me. But because they are not attracted by the names of Krishna and Balaram, you had better not ask them for anything in my name. Better to ask for some charity in the name of Balaram. Charity is generally given to high-class Brahmanas, but Krishna and Balaram did not appear in a Brahmana family. Balaram was known as the son of Vasudeva, a Kshatriya, and Krishna was known in Vrindavan as the son of Nanda Maharaj, who is a Vaishya. Neither belonged to the Brahmana community. Therefore, Krishna considered that the Brahmanas engaged in performing sacrifices might not be induced to give charity to a Kshatriya and Vaishya. But at least if you utter the name of Balaram, they may prefer to give in charity to a Kshatriya rather than to me, because I am only a Vaishya. Being thus ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the boys went to the Brahmanas and began to ask for some charity. They approached them with folded hands and fell down on the ground to offer respect. "O earthly gods, kindly hear us, who are ordered by Lord Krishna and Balaram. We hope you know them both very well and we wish you all good fortune. Krishna and Balaram are tending cows nearby, and we have accompanied them. We have come to ask for some food from you. You are all Brahmanas and knowers of religious principles, and if you think that you should give us charity, then give us some food, and we shall all eat along with Krishna and Balaram. You are the most respectable Brahmanas within the human society, and you are expected to know all the principles of religious procedure. Although the boys were village boys and were not expected to be learned in all the Vedic principles of religious ritual, they hinted that because of their association with Krishna and Balaram, they knew all those principles, which is true in the sense that if a person is serving Krishna and Balaram, then there is no need to actually know all the religious rituals, but you have achieved the highest form of all sacrifices. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna and Balaram, asked for food, the boys would immediately deliver it without hesitation, because it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that one should perform yajna, sacrifices, only for the satisfaction of Vishnu. The boys continued, Lord Vishnu, as Krishna and Balaram is standing waiting, and you should immediately deliver whatever food you have in your stock. They also explained to the Brahmanas how foodstuffs are to be accepted. Generally, the Vaishnavas, or pure devotees of the Lord, do not take part in ordinary sacrificial performances, but they know very well the ceremonials called Diksha Pashu Shamtha Sautramya. One is permitted to take food after the procedure of Diksha and before the animal sacrificial ceremony and the Sautramani, or ceremony in which liquors are also offered. The boys said, we can take your food at the present stage of your ceremony, for now it will not be prohibitory. So you can deliver us the foodstuff. Although the companions of Lord Krishna and Balaram were simple cowherd boys, they were in a position to dictate even to the high-class Brahmanas engaged in the Vedic rituals of sacrifice. But the smarta Brahmanas, who were simply sacrificial-minded, could not understand the dictation of the transcendental devotees of the Lord, which is actually very common. They could not even appreciate the begging of the Supreme Lord, Krishna and Balaram. Although they heard all the arguments on behalf of Krishna and Balaram, they did not care for them, and they refused to speak to the boys. Despite being highly elevated in the knowledge of Vedic sacrificial rites, all such non-devotee Brahmanas, although they think of themselves as very highly elevated, are ignorant, foolish persons. All their activities are useless because they do not know the purpose of the Vedas as it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita to understand Krishna. In spite of their advancement in Vedic knowledge and rituals, they do not understand Krishna. Therefore, their knowledge of the Vedas is superficial. Lord Chaitanya, therefore, gave his valuable opinion that that a person does not have to be born in a Brahmana family. If he knows Krishna or the science of Krishna consciousness, he is more than a Brahmana. He is quite fit to become spiritual master. There are various details to be observed in the performance of sacrifices, and they are known collectively as desha. They are as follows. Kala means the time, priktak dravya, the different detailed paraphernalia, mantra, hymns, tantra, scriptural evidences, agni, fire, ritvij, learned performers of sacrifices, devata, the demigods, the vajamana, the performance of the sacrifices, kratu, the sacrifice itself, and dharma, the procedures. All these are for satisfying Krishna. It is confirmed that he is the actual enjoyer of all sacrifices because he is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supreme Absolute Truth, beyond the conception or speculation of material senses. He is present, just like an ordinary human boy, but for persons who identify themselves with this body, it is very difficult to understand him. The Brahmanas were very interested in the comforts of this material body and in elevation to the higher planetary residences called Svarga Vasha. They were therefore completely unable to understand the position of Krishna. When the boys saw that the Brahmanas would not speak to them, they became very disappointed. They then returned to Lord Krishna and Balaram and explained everything that had happened. After hearing their statements, the Supreme Personality began to smile. He told them that they should not be sorry for being refused by the Brahmanas, because that is the way of begging. He convinced them that while one is engaged in collecting or begging, one should not think that he will be successful everywhere. He may be unsuccessful in some places, but that should not be the cause for disappointment. Lord Krishna then asked all the boys to go again, but this time to the wives of those Brahmanas engaged in sacrifices. He also informed them that these wives were great devotees. They are always absorbed in thinking of us. Go there and ask for some food in my name, in the name of Balaram, and I am sure that they will deliver you as much food as you desire. So, as usual, just like in the story of excuse me, just like in the story of the Agashura demon, right? Or not the Agashura, sorry, Kaliya. The wives of Kaliya were more intelligent than Kaliya. In this case, the wives, you'll find that the wives of the Brahmanas were actually more spiritually intelligent than the Brahmanas, who were so elevated in a material sense. Carrying out Krishna's orders, the boys immediately went to the wives of the Brahmanas. They found the wives sitting inside their house. They were very beautifully decorated with ornaments. After offering them all respectful obeisances, the boys said, "Dear mothers, please accept our humble obeisances. And hear our statement. May we inform you that Lord Krishna and Balaram are nearby? They have come here with the cows, and you may know also that we have come here under their instructions. All of us are very hungry, therefore we have come to you for some food. Please give us something to eat for Krishna, Balaram, and ourselves." Immediately upon hearing this, the wives of the Brahmanas became anxious for Krishna and Balaram. These reactions were spontaneous. They did not have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna and Balaram. Immediately upon hearing their names, they became very anxious to see them. Being advanced by thinking of Krishna constantly, they were performing the greatest form of mystic meditation. All the wives became very busily engaged in filling up different pots with nice foodstuff. Due to the performance of the sacrifice, the various food was all very palatable. After collecting a feast, they prepared to go to Krishna, their most lovable object, exactly in a way rivers flow to the sea. So we can see the different kinds of attitude. We have these people that their attachment is in the elevation to heavenly planets. Sometimes people are not even that elevated. They're attached to material enjoyment, which is most people in the material world. In that state, their consciousness is convoluted and covered by different degrees of lust or desire to control and enjoy. From having that covering, it is impossible to actually have a perception of your relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even these Brahmanas, who were very religious but had still a very subtle desire to enjoy beyond in the heavenly planets, they still did not appreciate or could see their relationship, the eternal relationship that they have with Krishna and Balaram. But the wives who had constantly thought about Krishna or in Krishna consciousness, immediately when somebody asked them, they want that, oh, I got to do something for Krishna. That's the difference. The person always thinking about Krishna, being their devotee, and being anxious to make sure they're being pleasing to Krishna. And it's a very lovely analogy here. After collecting a feast, they prepared to go to Krishna, their most lovable object, exactly in the way rivers flow to the sea. So it's like You see these rivers, they're just constantly going right towards the ocean. That's their goal. For a long time, the wives had been anxious to see Krishna. However, when they were preparing to leave home to go to see him, their husbands, fathers, sons, and relatives asked them not to go, but the wives did not comply. When a devotee is called by the attraction of Krishna, he does not care for bodily ties. The woman entered the forest of Vrindavan on the bank of the Jamuna, which was verdant with vegetation and newly grown vines and flowers. Within that forest they saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in tending the cows along with their very affectionate boyfriends. The Brahmana's wife saw Krishna putting on a garment glittering like gold. He wore a nice garland of forest flowers and a peacock feather on his head. He was also painted with the minerals found in Vrindavan, and he looked exactly like a dancing actor on a theatrical stage. They saw him keeping one hand on the shoulder of his friend, and in the other hand he was holding a lotus flower. His ears were decorated with lilies. He wore marks of tilak, and he was smiling charmingly. With their eyes, the wives of the Brahmanas saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of whom they had heard so much, who was so dear to them, and whom their minds were always absorbed. Now they saw him eye to eye and face to face, and Krishna entered their hearts through their eyes. Ooh, very nice. Okay, we gotta read some more. They began to embrace Krishna to their heart's content, and the distress of separation was mitigated immediately. They were just like great sages who, by their advancement of knowledge, merge into the existence of the Supreme. As the Supersoul living in everyone's heart, Lord Krishna could understand their minds. They had come to him despite all the protests of their relatives, fathers, husbands, brothers, and all the duties of household affairs. So being in a culture and a time where it's not like today where women can just kind of come and go wherever they want, women were kept under control of or care of their husbands, and originally it was their father, and then it was their husbands, and then when the husband died, then the sons would take care of. So constantly there were men who were taking care of the women, but they stepped out of that whole thing at the protest of all of them, which must have been a very amazing thing to do, because they wanted to go to Krishna. They were actually following Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. One should surrender to him, giving up all varieties of occupational and religious duties. The wives of the Brahmanas actually carried out the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita in total. He therefore began to speak to them, smiling very magnificently. It should be noted in this connection that when Krishna entered into the wives' heart, and when they embraced him and felt transcendental bliss of being merged with him, the Supreme Lord Krishna did not lose his identity, nor did the individual wives lose theirs. The individuality of both the Lord and the wives remained, yet they felt oneness in existence. And that when they say oneness, it's oneness in will, not they just become one. So that oneness is a oneness in will. Lord Chaitanya, when a lover submits to his lover without any pinch of personal consideration, that is called oneness. Lord Chaitanya has taught us this feeling of oneness in his Shikshastaka. Krishna may act freely, doing whatever he likes, but a devotee should always be in oneness or in agreement with his desires. That oneness was exhibited by the wives of the Brahmanas in their love for Krishna. So there is an actual saying in the Bible where Jesus says, I and my Father are one. And because of the mistranslation of the Greek to the English, people take this to say that he's saying that he's God. But actually that's not the case, because even in the grammatical use of the Greek, the particular gender of the word has to do with oneness of will. not being the same thing. If it were a different gender, it would be, but the same word, but a different gender in the grammar, it would actually mean that they were the same person. But this is something that was mistranslated. And also, this is, in a spiritual sense, this is exactly what Jesus is talking about, his oneness in relationship with the Supreme Father, in the sense that all of Jesus's desires are dovetailed to his Lord and Master, Krishna. He has no will of his own, of what other than what the Supreme Lord wants for him. Krishna welcomed him with the following words: "My dear wives of the Brahmanas, you are all very fortunate and welcomed here. Please let me know what I can do for you. Your coming here, neglecting all the restrictions and hindrances of relatives, fathers, brothers, and husbands in order to see me, is completely befitting. One who does this actually knows his self-interest, because rendering transcendental loving service unto me without motive or restriction is actually auspicious for the living entities." Lord Krishna here confirms that the highest perfectional stage of the conditioned soul is surrender to him. One must give up all other responsibilities. This complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the most auspicious path for the conditioned soul, because the Supreme Lord is the supreme objective of love. Everyone is loving Krishna ultimately, but realization is according to the advancement of his knowledge. One comes to understand that his self is the spirit soul, and the spirit soul is nothing but a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the ultimate goal of love, and thus one should surrender unto him. This surrender is considered auspicious for the conditioned soul. Our life, property, home, wife, children, house, country, society, and all paraphernalia, which are very dear to us, are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the central object of love, because he gives us all bliss, expanding himself in so many ways according to our different situations, namely bodily, mental, or spiritual. So this is our goal, to return back to this state of loving relationship, and to end the false concept of being Lord and Master, or trying to be our own Krishna, away from Krishna. And I'm going to stop there. We'll continue the second part where the Brahmanas come in. Krishna responds here a little bit, and then the Brahmanas come in with their sort of feeble attempt to be sorry. But we'll get to that a little bit later. And let's chant a little bit more. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll see you for next class. Haribol.